small things are just small things until over time they become big things.
I think of responsibility. When I think of ownership, it's showing up in the small things and being responsible, but also that spills over into really big things in life.
Whenever somebody has the gift of being here on earth, you have a body to take care of business, the gift of having a spouse. The word that I attach it to is stewardship.
Everything you have is a blessing, and you've been blessed with responsibility.
Yeah.
But if you fail to steward that responsibility, the amount of responsibility you have will actually start to shrink.
This is the Own It Show, where we tell stories of how everyday people made ownership theirs.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Own It Show. I'm your host, Justin Rothling Chauffeur. And if it is your first time here, welcome. It is a safe place. It is a place in which you're going to develop, in which you're going to move forward, and how you can take ownership of your health. What does this look like to live in ownership? What does it look like to live differently than how you're living today? And if you are interested, there's over 300 episodes, if you look back, of amazing guests like I have today, also different solo episodes. And so I really encourage you to lean in there. And the only thing I ask is if something moves you, if something changes you, if something influences you, to simply leave a comment or share it with somebody you love, because that is how we continue to reach people on a scaled basis. And so today I'm super excited. I've had a couple guests on here that are similar to our guest today in the sense that we met them in the same place. And I think what I love so much about our guests today is that they are the epitome of what it means to live in ownership. We talk about being able to continue to grow personally. We think about the desire to continue to change the way we think, change the way we feel, continue to walk in our calling, continue to be obedient to what it is that we're called to do. And this couple just does it at a level above, at a notch above. And so as we step in today, you're going to hear a story, multiple stories of what they've had to do in order to overcome. They are literally the industry leader in the bridal space. They have turned an industry-leading bridal company into also a coaching company. They have an amazing family. They have amazing marriage, and together they're moving forward in such a powerful way. And so I can't wait for you to be influenced by them and to change the way you think. And so Jordan and Mindy Linscomb, it's so great to have you. Thank you for taking this time.
That was such a kind introduction.
Thanks, Justin.
That's
Very generous. Yeah, thank you.
People often just say they just want me to introduce them and walk around with them. It's like, hey, this is who they are.
Set me up. That was so good.
I'll make that happen.
I love it. And so, Jordan, I'd love to just start with you and just kind of give our audience a 2-minute background on why you think ownership is a powerful word. When I say the word ownership, what comes to your mind, and how has it shown up in a pre-ownership moment and in a post-ownership moment in your life?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think of responsibility. When I think of ownership, I'm an Enneagram 3. I love achieving, getting stuff done, valedictorian in high school, etc. But then you get into the real world. You say, how do we apply things and the early jobs and careers we had? And so Mindy and I have always just tried to show up. And I think that's what attracted us to each other. And when we met in college, it was just, how do you show up responsibly, bring in your best, living a life with excellence? And so it's showing up in the small things and being responsible, but also that spills over into really big things in life. We were talking about that with my kids the other night. So thanks for your input into their lives. So that's one of the top words that comes to mind. And then when we've taken risks in life, we'll get more into business and other elements. That spills over. How are you going to run your business? How are you going to lead your family? How are you going to lead together in your marriage and things? So responsibility is a big part of it for me.
I love it. I put a quote in my newsletter this week is, small things are just small things until over time they become big things. Mm-hmm. And I think so many of us, we want to do the small thing and then tomorrow becomes a big thing. And it's about doing it over and over and over again. And just honor to both of you, because there's so many things that I just see the way in which you operate in being able to live in your home and being around you guys both, as to how you do so many small things so consistently every single day. And it's now turned into big things. It's turned into the way in how your kids act and how your kids behave, in the culture that you've created, the dynamics that you've created, the business that you've created, the culture that you have at the shop, and just the influence that you guys have in life. And so it's a testament to doing the small things over and over and over again, and now seeing the fruit of that on the back end. And so I love it. Responsibility in that space. Same question to you, Mindy. What does it look like when you think of ownership, and what would you say that looks like for you? And then what does pre-ownership versus post-ownership look like in your life?
So I think, whenever somebody has the gift of, being here on earth, you have a body that you have to take care of. If you get the gift of having a business, you're so blessed and fortunate to have that. You get the gift of having a spouse. You're just so lucky to have those things. And so I think the word that I attach it to is stewardship, because it's like you have such a gift to have those things. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, now it's on you to steward that.
Yeah.
Like if you are fortunate enough to have a spouse, then it's totally on you to steward that relationship so that it's a good relationship.
Yeah.
I don't like when people complain about those situations, or complain about their body, complain about their companies, complain about whatever, because I like to say, if you don't like it, change it.
Yeah.
And so stewarding the amazing gift that you have, instead of complaining about it, has been the game changer for me. And it was easy for me to do it every category except for my own health. And so it's not that I was unhealthy. I just didn't prioritize it and I didn't steward it. And so I was expecting it to produce certain results for me, my body, that eventually catches up with you. And so I would say, just if I were to pick that one category to go deeper into, because that's really how we got to be better friends, is I was just hoping that my body would keep up with all of my amazing stewardship in the other areas of my life. I stewarded my business very well. I still steward my relationship with my kids and my husband. Those are like a priority. But I denied the prioritization of how to take care of my body. Mm-hmm. And it is a gift. Like I see it the same way. I just, for some reason, something had to fall, and that's where it fell. It fell last. So I decided about 1.5 years ago to make changes, because if I don't steward it, to your point, to my husband's point, it's like eventually it will not function the way it was designed to. And so I was thankful that I did it, in my 40s, because imagine if I stopped and did this in my 60s, I think I'd have some different results. So I'm really thankful. I'm thankful for how quickly I saw a change, for how quickly we implemented some habits, for how simple it actually was. It wasn't overcomplicated. It was just as simple as the daily habits I was doing in every other area.
Yeah.
I just had to steward this area. And I just think people need to remember, it's like it's totally on you to make it better.
Yeah. No, it's so good. When you talk about like that stewardship component, and I think stewardship and responsibility going hand in hand are so unique, because you talk about it, everything you have is a blessing, mm-hmm. and you've been blessed with responsibility.
Yeah.
But if you fail to steward that responsibility, the amount of responsibility you have will actually start to shrink.
Yeah.
And it's only when you steward it well that your responsibility for being blessed with other things can actually start to grow.
Yeah, I knew, and I still know, that I could not get to the next level in my goals, in my career, in my dreams, hopes, whatever you might want to say. I could not get to that unless I physically stewarded this body.
Talk about the mindset shift that had to happen for you in order to go from where you were thinking that it's just going to happen naturally just because of how I'm living in every other domain, versus what mindset shift had to occur in order for you to step into something different.
Well, I mean, I love your company name of just owning it, right? That was probably one of the biggest mindset shifts, is like you delegate so much when you get to a higher level.
Yeah, that's good.
I really do delegate a lot. And I don't delegate my relationship with my kids, though. I don't delegate my relationship with my husband. So I don't know why I delegate. I was thinking I could delegate the relationship with myself. So I had to be like, oh no, I have to own that one. That one comes on my list, where, you get trained, the higher level you go. It's like, okay, hire a VA for that, offload that. But really, no amount of supplementation, like taking a supplement or going to get an IV when I was running low, on energy and things like that. No amount of hiring those things.
No amount of quick fixes could actually get you to where you wanted to be.
Exactly. And so deciding, I have to own.
Imagine that.
I have to own that task. It has to slide back onto my to-do list. And it wasn't as hard and complicated as I think I was making it.
That's good.
That's something I think the more I talk to, especially females in my industry, is we're making it really like, oh my gosh, I have to get a trainer and I have to, blah, blah, blah. It's really not that complicated. I mean, like you said it the other day, you said, you're telling my son, if you just go on a walk 3 times a week and then 2 times a week, those off days, you do sit-ups and pull-ups. I'm like, do you know how much better that plan was for me if I would have just done that versus nothing?
Uh-huh.
And so I think a lot of high performing people too think you have to be like all or nothing.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, no, just own one little task on your to-do list every day. And so I've dealt with some guilt or, just beating yourself up when you don't make it to the gym that one time. And so then, that kind of can snowball. But my point in saying all this is, it's like, don't be too hard on yourself. Own it. Don't delegate it. And even start with a simple plan that doesn't overcomplicate it, because it's probably better than what you're doing now.
That's great.
Do something that's better than what you're doing now. But if you don't like it, then you got to change it, because otherwise you can't really do what you're called to do.
So good. I love it. And Jordan, I think if we can tell a little bit about your story, because I think it's so unique, is number one, and I talked to you about this the other day, just honoring the type of father you are, the type of husband you are, the patience you have, mm-hmm. the love you show, the support you provide. I mean, guys, I was up here, I'd gotten here and I started working. I love this story. I'm going to use it in keynotes for sure, just in the sense of relationship building, hospitality. But I was up here doing work. I had shown up. First off, Jordan came and picked me up. He brought me over to their home. And as I came up here, I started working and I was doing some things. And I told Jordan and Mindy, I said, hey, I've got meetings till about 3:45 and 3:45, 4 o'clock. And lo and behold, at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I hear a knock at the door. And I'm like, hey, Jordan, what's up? And he's got a plate of food. And he's like, hey, here's lunch for you. I was like, oh my gosh. I didn't realize I rolled into the Ritz-Carlton, calling room service. But just honoring your area of service and just how kindly you do it, and with such a big heart. It's amazing. And it's no wonder to see the blessings that you have in your life, from an amazing wife, an amazing business, amazing kids, a beautiful home, and just the way in which you steward that is incredible. I'd love to dive into a little bit of your story, because your life drastically changed about
2015.
I was going to say, and when you think about this, how did that concept of ownership start to play into how you showed up? And maybe give the audience just a little bit of a background as to how life changed.
Yeah. So in 2015, Mindy and I had just gone through a challenging season of a miscarriage, but finally our third son arrived. And so by that point, we had 3 boys. And on one hand, it was beautiful celebrating this newborn, Blake. But on the other hand, we were really concerned about our son, Brody, who was 2 years old at that time, almost 3. And, it's for Mindy, with a mom's discernment, and then you put in the Holy Spirit and God in her heart, and of just seeing something's not right here. That was a powerful thing. But the challenge was doctors and people weren't listening. And so we go to a pediatrician and say, hey, we're here for the appointment for our third, but we're really concerned about our second because he has bumps on his head. And then eventually went to his neck. Fast forward, after advocating really hard and fighting for answers, we self-admitted to the ER, pushed for answers. We were told he just had fluid in his body, but it was actually, later we learned, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And so it was just really frustrating for us because we had to fight so hard just to get people's attention and to get an answer. So that turned into a whole year of chemotherapy for our son, Brody. He turned 3 during that time frame. Easter of 2015, though, we almost lost him on the Easter weekend. And he goes into a surgery, they roll him out in the bed, and we're looking at each other like, we hope this isn't it, but this could be it. And so that season was really challenging when it comes to ownership and responsibility as well, too, because you have your moments where you're like, I just want to run away from this and hide. But you talk about ownership, like there's no other dad, there's no other mom showing up to fix the situation and make the decisions. So we talked with our parents, we talked with other counsel. I called, PhD friends and others saying, hey, we have these two options of chemo or treatment or these hospitals. And that was really tough because then all of a sudden you're like, your kid's life is on the line.
Yep.
So we are so grateful for the doctor's team and others. He had an incredible team. By God's grace, the chemo worked. That is not always the case, though. And we know families who've really gone through that challenge and same hospital, same school, same Jesus who we love and follow, but at times it doesn't work. Right? And so that was a brutal but very formative journey for us to walk through. We're super thankful to report that Brody's now 12 years old. He's healthy, he's strong. You'd never know, but that just immediately pushed us into a season of trauma, of immense stress and responsibility. They look at us at the hospital and the social worker says, just so you know, like 65% or so of couples that go through childhood cancer, they wind up getting a divorce. And we felt like slapping the person, honestly. Yeah. Because we're like, why are you even telling us this? Like we have so much on our plate. But we looked at each other and her dad has often challenged us with a deep, deep thought that our response is our responsibility. And so life throws crazy things at us. We had the miscarriage. That was trauma and hardship on her birthday, basically. You fast forward to my birthday the next year, we're having a biopsy on our kid. And you're just thinking like, where is this going? It's spiraling out of control. So it wasn't perfect. It was hard. It took a toll on us, even on our health and our bodies. But we had to learn, we were saying, okay, no one else is going to show up. Yeah. And so how do we respond? How do we lean into this? And so we're so thankful. So that honestly shaped our family, our community, our church, our school. So many people came around us in amazing ways. But we didn't see that coming. We did, when you get married and you're like, hey, we dream of having 4 kids, so yeah, and one of them's going to go through a cancer journey. Of course.
Yeah, you're going to deliver one that doesn't make it.
Yeah. So that 2015 went through chemo. And then they said, we want 5 more years to make sure it really worked. And so that was a long 6 years. Yeah. Slate of life.
And blood test to see if the cancer's back, just lots of stuff.
So as that wrapped up, then think, we've been quarantining our child before it was the thing, and all that. And then we get into
before it was the thing.
Yeah. Nobody knew what quarantine was, but we have been quarantining him to keep him from getting other sicknesses because his immunity was shot with chemo. And then we get out of all of it. And then COVID happened.
And then COVID emerged in 2020. So then other stressors and other things. Yeah, sure. The world didn't know how to really respond, for the most part. But, it just from a stress level, the 6-year period was still going. And then this other layer came on top, kind of with global reaction to COVID. So we'll jump into more soon, but then that started to take a toll as well, too, on our health and things. But yeah, again, that framework of everything rises and falls on leadership. We've learned that from Maxwell, whether it's our own health, whether it's parents making tough decisions for their kid. So it's self-leadership. It's leadership as a married couple or in your family or in your company, right? Yeah. So those just 2 ideas really shaped us of how do we show up and how do we keep responding with the best next step that we know?
If you were able to summarize what kept you 2 together in such a powerful way, and as a foundation, if you were to summarize it in 1 to 2 points, and Mindy, you were to summarize it in 1 to 2 points, what would those 2 points be?
Yeah, just the determination to keep going. I think for us, it's covenant is a word that comes to mind for sure. And it's a powerful thing that maybe not all the world understands, but August 05, when I married her, it wasn't just this beautiful ceremony and things, but we're saying in sickness and in health. And sure, people think as you get older and you're in your 80s, but sickness came from a different angle into our family. So when we made that covenant agreement together, it's me to her, but also me to God, even more importantly, right? And so we love each other. We're crazy about each other. We've had ups and downs. But it's why on earth would I look elsewhere or go elsewhere or split off? We have to lean in more than ever. So good. And so covenant is a key word that comes to mind for me of whether it's your kids or your unexpected or your parents, some of us getting into that sandwich generation where parents are getting older, right? Or some of your viewers, but you got to lean in and like lean in even tighter and deeper.
So good. And listeners, I don't want that to go like missed. I don't want that to just like, oh yeah, it's like the commitment. But think about the commitment that you've had to make in every aspect of your life. Think about the commitment, whether it's your business, whether it's your family, whether it's your kids. What have you been committed to, but only been half in? You've only put one foot in, and you know what? I'm committed until it gets hard. I'm committed until it doesn't work. I'm committed until I get something unexpected. I'm committed until I don't want to be anymore. We talk about this commitment ladder, and I think I've talked about this a little bit, but it's only once you say, yes, I'm in, or I'm going to do whatever it takes, that you actually start to get rewarded, that you actually start to be refined through it, and you get the fruit that exists on the other side. And that's exactly what Jordan and Mindy are talking about. Mindy, what would you say is that for you?
So we operate on a system of decision making that could be life-changing for people listening. I don't know if anybody else out there is married to someone strong and opinionated like we are, but it is so easy to end in divorce when you have a lot of things you can blame on each other. You can say, oh, well, that was your fault that we, well, in the really good example that you gave with our son, Brody, there were several protocols and treatment plans that we could have chosen to save his life. But the reason why I believe people get divorced with childhood cancer is because one parent possibly decides we're going to go with this treatment plan. And if that one didn't work, you can easily blame the spouse and say, well, it was your fault that we went that route. I would have done this one. Our child died because of you. And you start to blame. Mm-hmm. And so when you blame and use that overlay, anything you're going through, because most of you probably don't have the childhood cancer example, but your business falls apart, you probably blame one another. You start to blame, that was you. Anything that goes wrong, it's easy to blame. So we decided, we learned from a counselor years and years ago. We were 5 years into marriage. We learned this and we never looked back. The problem is always on the other side of the table. And this is what we do. Any decision, even if it's a good decision, should we invest our money in this new duplex in whatever city? Should we go to this vacation? Whatever it might be. What we do to make every decision is we follow this principle. We start with inquiring of the Lord. Both of us have to pray about it. Pray about it, come back, and if we feel good about a decision, we give each other a red, a yellow, or a green light. Okay? So if we feel good about it, I would say green. He would say green. If he says to me, Mindy, I have a yellow light on that decision, I would say, okay, we'll pause. We will not invest the money in that yet. We will not move to that city yet. We will not do that change in our business yet because you have a yellow light. And then we pray about it longer until we either both get green or we both get red. But you do not proceed on anything until you both have a green light or you both have a red light. And you can't use the yellow light to control or manipulate either. You can't be like, oh, I have a yellow light on you getting that new truck. You know what I mean? Like it can easily be a control thing. So you really have to have the intention of, we are on the same team. The decision's on the other side of the table. Let's pray about it. Inquire of the Lord. Do we feel good about this? And I have never since, year 5 in our marriage, we're almost to 20. We have never made a decision, big or small. What protocol our kids can have in the cancer treatment? Should we buy this car? Should we move our house? Should we go on this vacation? No decisions ever made without us both having a green light on it. And then what happens is, if that fails, if the business fails, if you invested in something, we've invested in something that turned out to be a totally stupid mistake. But what happened was we weren't mad at each other. I wasn't like, thank God Jordan wasn't, oh, that was your idea or whatever. Nobody was pointing fingers. We never carry the problem towards each other because those things become big. Like those become big marriage problems. Mm-hmm. They do. Resentment creeps in and things like that. Never has that happened because we always looked at each other. Well, we both prayed about that. We both had a green light. It's no one's fault. It's not your fault or my fault. Now we can laugh about those things that come our way. We can laugh about, or maybe sometimes it's not easy to laugh, but we can say, you know what? We did the best with what we knew. We both inquired of the Lord. We didn't proceed till there was a green light, and we both had a green light. So it's not going to be something we're going to carry into the next 5 years of reminding each other, well, you remember that time you bought that truck? I told you not to. And it's just because those can become big things.
You make the mistake in unity, you get the victory in unity. It's good, but you're in unity either way.
I love it.
That will change your marriage.
So good. Guys, I want you to encourage you to just lean into this couple. This couple is just incredible in so many different ways. And Jordan and Mindy, where can they find you? Where can they track you down? Where can they learn a little bit more about you, about the business, about the podcast, about the way in which you guys are now speaking on marriage and family? Where can they track you down if that's of interest?
I think to follow us personally, if you want to see what we're doing as parents and as spouses, just following along our personal journey is a great place. We share stuff on there. And then second would be our podcast, which is called the Something New Show. So personally, it's Mindy with an I, Linscomb, and Jordan Linscomb on Instagram.
So good. And I'll throw all that in the chat for you guys, but I really encourage you to go follow them on Instagram, go lean in, because we've barely even scratched the surface. We barely even told you their story in terms of how they've gotten to where they are and what they're now doing for people and how influential they've become in their community, in their industry, and their church, and just the community in which they play in. And so guys, when you step forward, I want you to take away today, where are you on this commitment ladder? What are you doing? And what have you committed to? What have you given your yes to? And have you actually given a yes to that? Have you taken the responsibility that's been blessed upon you? And have you stewarded it well? And maybe that's why you're starting to have some friction. That's why you're starting to be frustrated. That's why you're not getting the results, is because you failed to actually do the work necessary to yield more blessings along the way. And so I encourage you to go back and listen to the voice that Jordan speaks of when he talks about what his son had to go through. Go back and listen to the voice that Mindy had in talking about how they had to come together to make decisions. And so I encourage you to think about, how are you leading your family? How are you leading your kids? How are you leading yourself in every one of these facets so that you can step into something different? Because we know that success is different. So you have to own your different. And we'll see you guys next week.